Hey folks, welcome to Tokyo. Look, it's hard being Scottish and trying to pronounce Japanese street names and locations, so I'm starting the video with a warning. I can't say these places very well. You have been warned, please forgive me, I will try to avoid saying many of them, but this is Shinjuku. It's the financial hub of Tokyo and it's known as the Skyscraper District. And to be honest, all of Tokyo looks like a skyscraper district, especially if you're from Europe, where we don't have many skyscrapers like this. So in today's video, I'll be showing you my 48 by 48 base plate section of this area around the curved building in particular in the middle, which is called the Mode Gauken Tower. I'll just call it the Cocoon Tower from now on though. LEGO of course made the Tokyo architecture set a while back and this build is from that set. Everything else you see is 100% custom, built by myself based on Google Street View, Google Earth and still photos from Bing and Google stuff. So it's hopefully a pretty accurate rendition of the neighbourhood around the Cocoon Tower in Shinjuku. The tower itself is a very interesting building which I'll discuss later on, but first I'll show you around the mock. And one of the exciting things for me was the proximity of the tower to the massive Shinjuku railway station, so I had to include an element of that, which I'm sure you can see by the whole one side of the mock being a railway and subway line. From above, you can see that yes, there is a grid of roads, but also for the first time I had to make diagonal, very angular roads in this area as well, as it's like that in real life, so it was a challenge for me for sure to recreate that. I was also conscious of the heights of buildings and the cluster of very tall buildings in the streets behind this view, so I deliberately chose this section closer to incorporate the railway and the few buildings next to the tower, as they are a similar height and don't overshadow the tower, and it kind of remains the focus of the scene in the mock. A real key feature for me though was the double track subway line and the Shinkansen bullet train above it. You actually can get a bullet train from Shinjuku station and there really is a subway like this. But I've been a bit creative in building it like a cross section where you can see both levels inside. This is an example of the modern Tokyo subway cars that I based my design around with the blue and grey colour scheme. I've included two subway cars on my mock going in opposite directions. There's also a wee station in the back with a staircase, and I used pillars along the front to support the plates above, so it's kind of realistic and they genuinely have a real supporting role. And here you can see what I would consider a large number of parts, especially plates and tiles that I used to build this. I didn't take many photos of the build, but here's a few of them. Initially I felt very daunted at the scope of the build, but I began with mapping out the streets first. I figured out where the Cocoon Tower was going to be first and then worked around that area and left the far right section blank, as that was where the railway was going to be. I built the base out of bricks and plates in a sort of honeycomb fashion and then built the subway underneath on one side, plates on top, and then tiled the roads and added the cars, which are just jumper plates with tiles on top. This took me a full day, well about 8 hours, just to map it out using Google Maps. And then I just went block to block, building each building based on Google Earth and Street View. This of course is the most time consuming part. The whole mock took me 4 days straight of working on it, 10 hours a day, so I'd say roughly 40 hours. Anyways, back to the trains, and wow, Japan has some cool bullet trains. I did model mine on the more familiar and classic white and blue, and I did of course incorporate the pylons above it. And you think this is stunning? Check this pink train out, looks mental. Really amazing, the shape, and it comes in teal too. What a cool looking train. But I stuck with a more classic look. So I then built this elevated track just like in real life and used grey grills for the track, which I've done in every micro mock for railways, and they sit on tan jumper plates. And finally, a partial build of the train is coming along the line here. There's also a bridge over 2 roads as well. From this view, you can really get a sense of this multi-layered city which Tokyo is, with subterranean transport, the roads and buildings, then elevated bullet trains and the skyscrapers in the back. I think this is my favourite view of the mob. But around the back here, there's a few 20 to 30 story blocks. But in this cluster, we come to the start of the Shinjuku Financial Center with 50 to 60 story buildings. Right next to the tower, the light brown and grey building, is the Shinjuku Center building, which is an office tower. Here it is on the right, and this is a better view actually. So it's slightly taller than the Cocoon Tower. In the back you can see the white and black building as well with the sloped base. That's the Sompo Insurance Company building. It's quite iconic as well, also in the area due to its unique design with the tapered elements at the base. Behind it to the right is the Nomura building, which is also an office, and it's massive compared to both the towers next to it. Right at the back, the more boxy, glass-covered building is the CIC building, which is a credit reporting agency. So I had to get all these buildings right. I spent a lot of time trying to figure out the best colours and parts to use to recreate them. And then down here is a cluster of very narrow streets. Lots of low-rise, yet dense and odd-shaped buildings that form part of a shopping centre next to the Cocoon Tower and a bus station. Here you can see this area a bit better, and they're covered in billboards. Signs are everywhere. So I've done my best, especially difficult at this scale too, but I used a lot of Ninjago printed and stickered tiles in my collection. And lots of dots, 1 by 1 printed tiles to give that vibrant look of the advertisements. I mean, at Street View it's like this, so a bit of sensory overload, but I hope my LEGO version kinda ticks the box on signage and replicating the more intricate smaller builds. I'll go around the more blocky base sections. Of course there's the railway section, but as we come around here, you can see the 4 brick high layers I've built the city on. And I used masonry bricks in a continuous band around the second layer just to break up the look a bit, and I added a big tunnel at the bottom. The idea was that this was a central sewer going through the middle. One of the more notable builds, which is tiny really, but it's interesting, is the curved white structure on the corner. It's part of the Tokyo Metropolitan Government Building's Civic Plaza, which has a curved area with statues, so I made sure to include that. I want to talk just a little bit about the Cocoon Tower, as I was surprised at first when LEGO launched the Tokyo set that they chose that building over the thousands of others they could have. But I suppose looking at the area in the financial district, it really does stand out, and particularly at night, it's stunning. So I can see why they chose it. I definitely couldn't make a better version than LEGO did themselves. They did use printed curves with white crisscross patterns on them, so kinda hard to recreate with normal parts, but it is a great build anyway with its 3 sides. Inside the building in real life, it's very interesting. It's actually 3 colleges that use it. One is the Mode Fashion School, there's a medical college and a design and technology institute too, with every classroom having fantastic views with huge windows. 10,000 students use it on a daily basis, and with 50 stories, it sits second on the list of tallest educational buildings in the world, and it's the 17th tallest building in Tokyo, so it's huge but not massive. And for the local area and for the city, it's become iconic, and next to the other buildings, it really does pop, so you can see why. And I certainly think it stands out in my mock. It broadly sits in the middle, and it's surrounded on one side by taller skyscrapers, but has this low-rise bit in front of it with the railway, and that means it has an unobstructed view from that side, which is also nice when displaying it. So far I've only displayed it once at the Newcastle Brick Show, but I'm taking it to a few LEGO shows later this year, and it's really nice to show off in real life. To be honest, video footage and photos just don't really do it justice, but I'm sounding like a bit of a self-congratulatory douche. Look, I'm proud of it and I think it looks good. One other wee thing to show you is the road layout, which I've not done like this before. I had to put tiles down over where the roads are and put angled wing plates on top, which creates diagonal streets. It's the only way to do it, and then I add the buildings on top. But gosh, it uses a lot of tiles and plates. I used 4 curved tiles for this turnpike, which in real life is a bunch of slip roads next to the bus station. I sort of pulled it off. I've put a few cars dotted about the streets. There's also this fab park here where I used pink frogs as cherry blossom trees. This bit also has the longest diagonal road, which took me a while to get right. Over on the other side, it was much easier to build as it's more of a grid layout. Lastly, a wee look at how some of these buildings are built. It's mostly double or multi-sided snot bricks that I alternate on each side. Then I can put plates on both or all sides facing out and tile them, or in this case, add grey grill pieces. That's what I did for this larger building too, and I used jumper plates to attach it to the base. This is just multiple layers of plates and tiles around a core of 1x2 snot bricks, but it works and it's actually quite sturdy. For the Cocoon Tower, it has solid corners with glass in the middle and that curved sloped base. So the corners are white brick pillars with a black one in the middle. Then the core is just snot bricks which holds it all together. I'm not going to take it apart, I'll end up breaking it. This one did take a while to figure out as it's got those curved bits at the bottom. They all come away easy enough using jumper plates, and that means I can transport it easily too. All these skyscrapers come off their bases and I put them in a separate box so they don't all fall down in the car. So there we have it, my micro Shinjuku financial district with the Cocoon Tower and multi-level railways. It's without doubt the best micro-scale mock I've ever built, and I hope I've got an accurate version of this area of Tokyo. The original LEGO building looks great in its real life surroundings, and I love the dense cluster of tall skyscrapers next to the lower density billboarded areas. I've learnt so much doing this mock, from building a better base without using tons of bricks, how to make a double track railway fit on the side, and I really spent more time getting the buildings to look right and I didn't rush it. I wanted to get it as close as possible to the real place. I hope you enjoyed the tour. It's a long video, sorry. One day I'll visit Tokyo and see this for myself. It's a dream of mine to go there, but until then, I'll enjoy looking at this. Thanks so much for watching until the end. I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.